Okay, my name is Honorable Lady Ceara, Ceara Ingen Mingan Gowan, but you can just call me Ceara. I can be a voice herald. I've been told many times to do voice heraldry, but I always end up doing more performance things because that's what I'm known for. But what this class is for learning how to breathe properly and use your body and what's going on in your body in order to do everything properly. So I'm going to share my screen. Can you see the PowerPoint? Because it took away my Zoom. Let me put you guys right here.
Okay. The share screen thing is right at the bottom in green.
There you go.
No,
now we got it.
It was trying to present and it's active. Okay.
There we go.
There we go. Okay. So this is technical breathing for singers and heralds. I am Honorable Lady Ceara. So the purpose of what we're doing today is we're learning diaphragmatic breathing. What does that mean? So this is a method of breathing deep in your belly. And it's the most effective and healthy way to chamber the air necessary for supporting singing or projecting in general. I want to make sure that I can see if people want to come in. Hold on. Sorry, we have people coming into the waiting room. I want to make sure I keep an eye on it. Okay. So I'll start over again for the people that are just joining us. My name is Honorable Lady Ceara Ingen Gowan. I am from Stargate. I have been a singer all of my life. I was operatically trained early on when I was in high school, and I continued singing throughout my adult life. I have been a stage performer outside of the SCA for many years. I haven't done that in a while, but before I was in the SCA, I was doing shows on stage for almost every week. And then I also go and I perform within the SCA as well. I do a little bit of voice heraldry, but all of this is the same body mechanics. You're using the same instrument, which is your body, in order to project, to sustain your breath and control your breath in order to have your phrasing be correct and not be out of breath and have a correct oxygenation. Anyway, so what we're talking about today is the diaphragmatic breathing. So reading this again, this method of breathing is deep in your belly. So I'm probably going to end up standing up at some point and showing you my body, but it's the most effective and healthy way to chamber the air necessary to support singing or projecting, while leaving your shoulders and your neck and your jaw out of the equation. So it's going to help relieve tension, because when you want to sing or project or do any public speaking, you want to be relaxed, you want to be loose, right? You don't, because if you're crunched up, you're limiting the capacity of what you're capable of doing. So it's applicable for heralds that have to project long lines of verse. And so when we sing, we focus on the diaphragm. You can't see me, I'm going to stand up. You focus on the diaphragm, which is here, to inhale more deeply. The deeper inhalation leads to a stronger, fuller sound and illuminates the tension in the throat. You don't want to feel pressure here, because this will damage your vocal cords. So let's go into the biology of this. What's the diaphragm? Diaphragm is a flat, dome-shaped muscle located at the bottom of your rib cage. It is the floor of your rib cage. When you inhale, the diaphragm descends, pulling air into your lungs, as you can see here. It descends, it goes down, and it allows for your lungs to expand. When you exhale here, the muscle ascends, it goes up and pushes air out of your lungs. This is how your lungs function. So this happens every time you take a breath. So your lungs are bags of air, and the diaphragm muscle helps pull the air in the air and push it out. So this is a front view of what's going on with your lungs. And this is a side view of what's going on in your lungs. Your chest expands, everything expands upon inhalation, your diaphragm contracts, and then you can see the opposite happens when you exhale. Your chest contracts and your diaphragm relaxes, going up, pushing everything out. So we're going in, so your diaphragm's pulling it down, and then up, pushing everything out. That's why it's so important to focus on your breathing here, because it allows for full lung capacity. So when you're focusing on your chest for breathing, you're really only allowing for, and you're not allowing max capacity of the max potential of what your lungs are capable of. And it takes some work. What I'm about to tell you is, it's pretty strange. It's kind of the opposite of what you think how breathing works. So let's go into the rest of what is going on with your body, more focused on your vocal cords and your muscles in your face and your neck. So this is the phonation system. What is the phonation system? So it's your vocal cords or your vocal folds coming together in your throat to resist air. The results in vibrations that resist, from that resistance produces the sound that creates the raw material for the voice. If the respiration system, your lungs, is like the fuel for singing, the phonation is like the motor that's converting the breath from the lungs and the diaphragm into energy. This is where it is all coming from. So now we have the resonation system. What is that? The resonation system is the way the vibrations in your head and the frequencies produced by the vocal cords here vibrate and interact with the cavities around them. So we have the mouth, the pharynx, and the nose, and the nasal cavity. There are examples of resonating chambers. To use the fuel analogy, this will be the carburetor in the car, ensuring the best use of this energy. So when you speak, or really when you get into singing, we call for expanding your throat and your mouth and your nasal cavity in order to produce all of the quality sounds and intonations and diction and things like that. All of that happens here. So what muscles do we engage when we're singing? I'm not going to go all over them, but I just want to give you a good view of really everything that's going on in your neck and your upper body. So you see here, this is where the vocal cords are. And it's all, you're engaging all of these muscles. And there's a lot going on. So the importance of focusing on your diaphragm in relation to this is, if you are tense, all of this is going to get stretched out, tensed, and it's going to inflict pressure on everything that's going on in your esophagus. So where do we get started with all of this? We're going to start with posture. So posture is an incredibly important component to breathing while singing or projecting, especially if you've been having problems losing your breath in the middle of a phrase, which is what all of you are having issues with. So it all starts with good body mechanics, and the first thing that you want to focus on is your posture. My slides focus more on standing, but I'm going to also go over sitting, since we're all sitting and we're probably going to do all of our practicing while sitting. So I want all of you to engage with me as I'm doing this, because we're all going to practice together. So what I want you to do before I get into the standing part is, I want you to get your bottom on the front edge of your chair, and I want your knees shoulder length apart. And I want your hands on your lap, relaxed. And I want your your spine straight, just up like this. If you can see me in the viewfinder, I'm sitting straight and I'm comfortable. I'm in a good, like if I stretch myself out and I just relax without hunching over like this, I want you in just a good position. And this is a good singing or speaking position to be in. But if you were standing, this is what we're going to go over. If you were alone trying to practice, first I want you to stand in front of a full length mirror and turn so you can see the full length of your body from the side. And you're going to stand so that your head is above your shoulders, not shutting forward or pulled back. You want to be comfortable in a good stationary position. And I want you to make sure your shoulders are comfortably positioned at your sides. And as you're sitting, I want you to do this, but keep your hands in your lap. And using your shoulders as a guide, ensure that your hips are evenly spaced and in line with your shoulders. And this is naturally going to happen as sitting. Finally, using your hips as your shoulders as a guide, stand so that your feet are evenly spaced and in line with your hips. So just like I said, your feet are shoulder length apart. That's a quicker way to say that. So what happens when you're breathing? As I went over this before, but I want to reiterate what it is we're focusing on today. When you inhale, the diaphragm contracts so it's normal, from its normal upside down bowl shape into an almost flat muscle. Since the diaphragm is connected to the lungs, it naturally pulls the lungs open as it contracts. Nature hates a vacuum, so with the lungs open, air rushes in, so we get the feeling of breathing in. When you breathe out, the diaphragm relaxes, returning to a bowl shape, and the lungs resume their normal shape when air pushes out. So I want you to think about that when you're working on all of this, because you're going to have to keep it in the back of your mind. So why are we focusing on the diaphragm? Again, singing from the diaphragm means that you're breathing by moving the diaphragm rather than involving the chest, shoulders, or hips. You don't want to do that. If you don't, you engage muscles that aren't designed for singing, which could potentially be damaging due to the tension on your throat. See, if I feel like right now I'm singing, I'm talking quite a bit using my throat and breathing from my chest, I'm putting a lot of pressure on my vocal cords, which is going to tire me out. And it eventually could result in vocal nodes, which means just essentially like polyps or lesions on your vocal cords, and you have to eventually get them cut out. So how do we do this? If you were standing, you're going to stand again from the front of a mirror and turn so you can see the front of your body from the side, because I want you to know what's going on with your body. And I want you all to practice this after we're done. Make sure that you're standing in a tall posture like we discussed. So right now you should be in a good position to do it. Place both of your hands around the bottom of your belly, like if you were pregnant. Sorry, Savage. And you're feeling the baby in your stomach. I did get this off a website, but the way that I like to do it is a lot of people say, well, I don't know where my diaphragm is. I want all of you to cough. And I want you to pay attention to where your stomach hits, focusing on your belly. Try to cough with your stomach and not your chest. Where you feel that kick and that most of that tension in your stomach, that's where the diaphragm is. So for me, it's here. You see my hands move? You see it move? That's where you want to focus. So with your hands in this position, breathe so your belly moves outward. That sounds backwards, because when a lot of people breathe, they breathe like this. That's not what you want to do. You want to breathe to where your stomach pushes against your hands. So you're breathing like this. And you want to do this without, you do not want your shoulders or your chest being raised. So I'm going to do this again, looking at all of you, and I want you to tell me if you see my shoulders raised. My shoulders didn't move, did they? That's what you want. You want everything to be focused in your stomach. The idea is to keep all of your movement in your body isolated to your stomach, extending outwards. And then when you breathe out, your stomach comes back in. Your hands should follow your tummy as you breathe out. So what does this look like? You inhale and your belly goes out. When you exhale, your belly goes in. That's pretty backward from what you would normally would think, right? But this, like I said, it allows for the maximum lung capacity to be used. So how does this work for projecting or sustaining breath? Oh, sorry, I forgot this part. Again, you don't want your shoulders and chest to move at all. Your arms should be relaxed. You want your whole body to be relaxed. This should eventually feel very natural to you. So many singers, I tailor this to singers, but most people make the mistake of sucking in their stomach as they breathe in. We're trying to do the opposite, because it will cause the clavicular or the costal breathing, which is your collarbone or your rib cage, because you don't want to focus here, because you're not using your max lung capacity and you're stressing all of these muscles out here, which is not what you want, because it'll cause damage. And you can't sustain your breath if you're not using your full lung capacity. So now we can get into the breathing exercises. This breathing exercise, I didn't know the history behind it, but when I gave these to you, these are hyperlinked. So there's a Cristrato singer named Farinelli. He's from the 18th century. He created this breathing exercise. So what you want to do is you can use a metronome if you want. I like to use a metronome because I'm a musician, and that's just good habit practice to use. But you can just look at a clock. So 60 beats per minute, so 1 second per beat. You want to in using this breathing technique, I want you to gently inhale through your mouth for 4 seconds for counts, to make sure that, and making sure that you're inhaling from the diaphragm. This is, of course, again, reminding you how to do it. And then you would hold your breath, and then you would exhale out for 4 seconds. Kat, this is going to be really good for you, or really for anyone, but this is on your point, as how do we do this? I have small lung capacity. So doing it 4 seconds at a time, 4, 4, 4, will get you started. But as you continue to practice, you're going to expand it by a second. I'm going to breathe in for 5 seconds the next time, hold it, exhale for 5 seconds. And then you want to see if you can get up to 7. And then as you continuously practice this, you can try to do it for longer and longer periods of time, hitting the same sequence. So let's go back. So we're going to, again, engaging our stomachs. We're going to inhale from our mouth 4 seconds. We're going to hold in our breath for 4 seconds and exhale for 4 seconds. So I'm going to count out, and I want all of you to do it, and I'm going to watch you. So breathe in for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Release. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to do it just because I didn't see. It looks like some of you were just going ahead and just releasing it immediately. What I want you to do is I want you to sustain the breath control coming out. So I'm going to do it. You want to control it coming out too, because the outward part, that is the time that we're singing or that we're talking. And we're utilizing the breath that is coming out. This is teaching you control. This is controlling the flow of air in and out. So another way that they didn't talk about that I like to do is when we breathe out, I want you to take your mouth, and I want you to do like almost like you're whistling, but don't worry about the tongue part. Just make the shape as if you were going to whistle. But when you breathe out, I want you to put your hand in front of your mouth like this. I don't know if you can really see. There you go. In front of your mouth like this. And I want you to feel warm, wet air coming out of your mouth. If you feel warm, wet air, that is telling me that that is showing you that you're doing it properly. So we're going to do breathe in, hold, and breathe out. Did anyone have issue feeling that warm, wet air? Raise your hand if you did. You did? So Kat, well, you're muted, so I can't hear you.
Mine was more kind of a dry.
Did it feel warm?
Yeah, but
Well,
it wasn't wet.
That's okay. That's okay. I say wet because it's humidity, but if that's fine. As long as it's warm, that's what you're looking for. And did everyone notice the tension in their bellies as they were exhaling? Did you feel, it's kind of like if you were doing like the muscle man, like flex, when you do that ab flex, that's what you're really looking for. You wanting to like flex that muscle. And that's how you're really going to engage it and help sustain it as it's going out. So yeah, essentially that's it. Because you're wanting to, I wish I was there in person with you. I would be able to, I usually go in my class and I'm like, do I have permission to just touch your stomach and like touch your back? And I work with you, and it's hard for me not to do that. So it's difficult doing this over Zoom, but essentially that's what you're looking for when you're breathing out. You want to flex those abs, and that's going to help you control how much your diaphragm is releasing back up like this. And so let's try it again, and then we'll do another exercise. Let's try it for 5 seconds this time. So starting now, breathe. 1, 2, 3. Keep your mouth like this though.
Oh,
we're going to breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Was that hard for anyone to do? Kat, you're having issues?
I always have issues. That's breathing is so much fun.
Yeah, it is. Do you feel any tension in your stomach at all, or do you feel your chest moving?
Top here, more than stomach. Stomach's not a problem. It's I tend to tense right here.
Well, all right. So let's break this for a second. I want everyone to roll their shoulders. I want you to roll your shoulders back. Roll your shoulders forward. And then alternate back, and then alternate forward. We're going to try to loosen up. That's one of the things that you want to do. Like before you start singing or even doing voice heraldry, you don't want to go into it tense. And so that's one of the things that I like to do. And one of the things I forgot to do is get your body loose, roll your neck, try to loosen up all those muscles. Try to release all of that tension as much as you can. Stretch it all out. And so Kat, I want you to put your hands in your stomach again like this. You don't have to stand up, but I want you to cough. Do you feel it here, or do you feel it in your stomach?
It's going down.
Okay.
Stomach.
So that feeling in that stomach, in your stomach. Now yeah. I want you to breathe.
Breathe in or breathe out?
Well, first you have to breathe in order to breathe out. So,
yeah. You got it backwards when you were doing that doing your mouth and say it looked like you were breathing out instead of inhaling.
But I was inhaling. Yeah, but that's what you want to do. You're wanting to open up and expand the capacity that's in your lungs. And so that's where you want to focus, is like feel that tension in your stomach. And I want you to purposefully push your stomach out as you breathe in, which sounds really weird, but that's what you need to do.
Okay.
So you're raising your shoulders.
I know,
that's okay. So like if I was in person,
So
I would
I
put my
have a
hands.
hard time. So I have a hard time breathing in through my mouth, but like I can breathe in through my nose and push my diaphragm out, and then exhale through my mouth.
If you need to start
it in.
If you need to start with your nose, you can do that. But if you're doing voice heraldry, you're gonna want to use your mouth eventually, because that is the quickest way to get the most air in. So like when I'm singing, I have to take a big breath in order to sustain my breath over a big, probably sometimes even a whole measure of music. And so doing that is not as easy as to going, like when I breathe through my nose, the airflow, if we go back to, let's go back to this slide here. The reason why you don't
really
want to
concentrate and think about it, but I can do it if I really concentrate.
Right. Yeah.
So your nostrils are a smaller opening than your mouth has the potential to be, right? And so the airflow has to flow. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on the wrong screen. I have 3 monitors going. Your nostrils have a smaller air opening than your mouth does. And as it goes, it's your nasal cavities have a smaller, it doesn't show it here, but if the jaw was relaxed and open, the capacity for air is greater here than it is in your nasal cavity, which is why you want to focus on your mouth. So, and also the fact that your soft palate and your pharynx, you can expand that by yawning. I want everybody to yawn right now. Do you feel how it's raised?
Yeah.
Do you feel how your throat is opening? As singers, when we sing on a normal basis, we're singing with our soft palate raised the whole entire time to allow for more air essentially and better control of our notes because of the system, because of all this is where all the instrument happens essentially. So I'm going to go on to the next exercise. It might be a little easier actually, and it's easier for me to gauge everybody else, and audibly you can hear it better for yourself in the next exercise. This is the hiss exercise. And you can do any type of diction type thing on this hiss breathing exercise. You can use, you go ooh, ee, ah, or whatever words that you're having difficulty speaking. If you have like oxygenation, I couldn't speak for whatever reason. So ah or e or eh, but this is a is. But the doing the hiss allows for a pin needle of air coming out, and that helps with sustaining sound. So let me read off of this. The hiss breathing exercise is you just need your body in a stopwatch again. It's an excellent stimulation for holding a sustained note because it controls how much air is actually being released from your body by controlling the size of your mouth. It controls the exit of the breath. So you're going to take a nice deep breath, and you're going to slowly release it with your chambered air on an S sound through your teeth. And you want to see how long you can do it for. So you're just, all you're doing is going and counting the seconds. So, but using the breath control that I taught you with using your diaphragm, you want to breathe in with your stomach going out, then breathe out. How long was that? Like 25 seconds for me? Something like that. So I do that by flexing that diaphragm, flexing my abs. And I am physically controlling how my diaphragm moves when I do that. Well, actually, it's more of like this. So this is a out, and this is breathing in. That's what your diaphragm is doing. So essentially, yeah, that's good, Kat. But do you feel that in your stomach, or do you feel it here? Kind of both. And it's not easy to do right off the bat.
No, it really isn't.
But if you practice for 5 minutes a day and really just pay attention to what's going on in your body, you'll start getting it over time. This is not something that's you're immediately going to get. But if you like, as you're working throughout the day, just take some time to pay attention to what's going on with your body as you're breathing, and just practice it here and there as you're just working, or if you're sitting at your desk or whatever. Just try to, as you're working, just not really, being engaged. And then when you come back and you want to really get into deep practice, then you stand in front of the mirror, look at what your body is doing, and then saying, oh, okay, that's how my body looks as I'm doing it. And eventually, as you get the warm up down, you can start doing, if you have, go get an AOA script. And after you've done some practice with your warm-ups that I've taught you, get your AOA script. Actually, no, do this. Get your AOA script and immediately read it and pay attention to where you lose breath. Do your warm-up, pay attention to your breathing, get a warm-up for, 10 minutes, then read your AOA script again and see if you still lose your breath, where you're losing your breath, if you're able to hold it out for longer. Or if you're singing a song, again, mark the commas where you think that the measure should be, or listen to your music and say, okay, well, where are they taking their breaths, and write that down in your lyrics for Savage. Write that down in your lyrics where the singer is taking their breath within the music, and see if you can hold it out as long as they can. But this is how you're going to get there, is this warm-up practice. Because as you're singing or as you're speaking, this is what your body should naturally be doing. And this is going to teach you how to pay attention to what's going on in your body. Does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions?
It's just funny because when I was talking about running earlier, this is what my husband calls belly breathing. And
I learned to do this. It is.
Yeah, I learned to do this in choir, but then that was a long time ago. And so I stopped. And then when we started running, he's like, well, you have to breathe with your belly. And I was like, what does he mean? It's the diaphragm.
You're breathing with your diaphragm, because your lungs, they're big. And that is where your lungs end, where you feel that kick is happening as you cough, because that's the bottom of your lungs. That's the muscle that engages everything. Yeah. So that's essentially it. Just me going over these exercises with you. And usually in the class, I would go around and I would pay attention to every person and see what's going on with their bodies and kind of help walk them through it. But I can't do that with you. All I can really do is pay attention to, are your shoulders raising or not? And if they are, I'm gonna have to say, okay, pay attention to what's going on in your stomach. I do have.
It took me a long time to get used to it, and just practice it. Just practice it.
Mm-hmm. So these are some resources that you can go to online if you're, they are more vocal for singing, but they are really good resources. Even if you're doing public speaking. I like this one the best, the voicescienceworks.org. I will share my screen over here real quick, and I'll show you this website. Can you guys see it? Okay, so this is voicescienceworks.org. When I first started teaching this class, I've taught this class at Gulf Wars, I've taught it at Northern World Music and Dance, and I taught it First Steps Artisan. And I use this as my basis of my research. This is a really, really good website because it's a nonprofit website, and it really goes into the biology of what your body is doing. So if you ever get the time and you want to kind of dork out on what's going on, there's a bunch of great handouts here. How to do plenty of exercises. You can build your own warm-ups if you want, just depending. Even goes into diction, it goes into all sorts of things. And these exercises are even good for public speakers because I know that when I'm speaking, sometimes I trip up on my words. Like you saw with oxygenation, it gives you exercises to do for like how now, brown cow, and those types of things. And like, what is your mouth doing in order for resonance and diction? But then essentially, you can go take a look at that. But that's the class, guys. If you have any questions for me.
Anybody have any questions?
Well, I was going to say that when I herald or when I do the safety meeting in the morning, I always inhale deeply and like feel it pulling down. I didn't realize it was, you know, diaphragm breathing.
It is.
And so when I sing, I know I don't inhale deeply like that. Usually I feel like my throat, you know, getting sore. So probably just like barely inhaling and running out of air, and then all this is all stressed.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I need to apply Herald technique to singing.
Exactly.
What I've learned. So.
Well, good. I'm glad you got something out of it. But all of this, just remember, all of this and all of this and your neck, it all should just be relaxed, and all of the work should be done by your stomach or the diaphragm within that area, your abdomen. And you guys can always reach out to me if you're practicing and you're like, hey, I have a question. So I'm going to stop recording. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.